Double up.
Buy this car to drive to work to pay for this car. Buy this car to drive to work.
Welcome to welcome to YellBRo. I am Jordan, and tonight, whatever time it is, in Alaska, we're we're talking about morality and materialism and all this shit. But first, please remember to share, support, hopefully donate to all the links in the description box. Click them, read them, share them, donate to them. If you ain't got money, it's free to just, right-click, copy, right-click, paste it on your favorite fucking social media account. Do it. Or site, whatever. Do it. Do it now. All links in the description box. All right. So, this was something like I was curious in watching. Okay, they're debating this thing of patriotism. Like, should you be using that word or not, as far as like describing yourself? I guess Hinkle did that, and people had a problem with it. Like, for me, it's all about what do you mean by what you're saying. That's always first and foremost the most important thing to me. Also, vague stances of declaring who you are as a person. Like, I don't know. I'm a blah. It's like, what? I'll walk over by, I'm Jordan. Hey. Only label I need. The rest will be, like, explained in full depth. What I consider Jordan to be. But regardless, I'm not even really going to be talking about that. I'm going to be talking more of the answer I heard, or, something a part of the discussion that Infrared was saying in regards to morality. And I guess I don't know shit about Marxism, really. But more important than going back and reading Marx would be to hear what this guy means by what he's saying. Because he's the person that's here, right? He's more materially present. That's why I want to materially focus on what he's materially saying. No, but I think they're definitely interesting ideas. I don't know if they're borrowed or not. Which is why I'm saying, like, I haven't read Marxism. So if someone goes in the comment section and tells me he's just repeating Marx, I didn't know. Sorry. So let's give this a listen, and I'm going to give some, I guess, philosophical critiques from my own perspective. Here we go.
Yeah, I think, again, we should probably, this is an issue of, again, a very widespread confusion that self-proclaimed Marxists and Marxist-Leninism have on the question of morality. And morality is something we should take very seriously.
I agree.
Because a lot of the mistakes come from not having a materialist perspective on the matter.
Now, materialism or a materialist aspect, it should be 100% should be calculated in, right? Why don't I want to burn someone? Because I heard fire harms people, and fire is a material thing, and actual physical damage is a thing, and all. Yes, the material needs to be considered, but let's find out if he's putting that as the central thing in regards to morality, or if he's saying it's just an aspect. All right, here we go.
Now, it's undoubtedly true that there was a unique evil. I will agree. There is a unique evil of European colonialism and specifically the colonization of America that is not even comparable to the forms of, aggression and, slavery and so on of the pre-modern status quo. So I agree. There is a unique evil of this kind of modern European colonialism. No.
Okay. That I'm going to disagree with. Unique evil. I thought just like this notion of evil is evil. Evil is evil. As opposed to it's uniquely extra evil. Well, why is that? My guess is that his answer will say, well, look at the material impact. That's what makes it a more evil. So, like, I would, like, me personally, I would say the guy who only gets the chance to rape one girl is just as bad as the guy who gets a chance to rape 100 women. It's that they're the same evil to me. But he might put it in the sense of, well, this one's clearly the worst person. He's a worse person because he did it to 100. But what if this guy who only raped one woman is willing to do 100, he just didn't get the chance to? Doesn't that kind of still put them in the same evil, right? Because the things that are driving them to do this, let's say it's like almost like the identically thinking person, right? Like, oh, well, doesn't that make them the same evil? Like where the actual evil is happening at, right? It's happening in the psyche, or if you like woo-woo, psyche and or soul. I would say both. I like the woo. I did hear him make a notion about moral abstractions. It's like, but isn't that where these, like, if someone's going to shoot someone, right? The whole process before the actual decision to pull the trigger and shoot someone has happened in the psyche already. So I think that abstraction is actually worthy of time. But let's continue.
No denying that. So it's not that I'm trying to say like, well, this is the true for every single country's past, and America is just no exception. No, I agree. It is a unique evil. The problem is it has already happened. It has already happened. And if we do not believe that this reality can be reconciled, that we cannot, so to speak, clean the mess, or at least help try to clean the mess created by the sins of the forefathers, um, there is no moral position that can judge the past in this way. In other words, America has created a mess, so to speak, right? With American settled colonialism and the genocide of indigenous and slavery. This, I agree, is all a mess created by America. But only as Americans can we clean the mess we created. Can we address this original problem? We're not going to address it by turning our backs on this country and its people and saying they're all evil and they're condemned. Because in effect, you are actively participating in that original evil by doing that and saying that. If we
Okay, so he's going with the angle that, oh no, you are part of you're one of the mess makers. So so you can't just separate yourself from it and then claim some sort of moral authority over it. I get what he's saying there, but at the same time, all right, as far as how I look at morality, I look at it at the level of intention, right? And intention goes along, is like, that's the foundation of morality. Also, psychologically speaking, right, your ego and the function it plays of separating things, right? Left versus right, table versus microphone. It's making those separations. And as it's making those separations, morality is popping out through that in regards to, right? If you're creating these notions of what is better versus what is worse, you are sort of bringing morality into fruition, even if you don't egotistically say it or not. But as far as, because it's a difficult notion to say that someone is morally responsible for something like whatever shit the U.S. has done, even though they haven't personally laid hands on it, like, right? To where they're like at the, they're pause, where they're at the, they're at the steering wheel, like they're helping guide things there. It's tough because that would kind of require like a God's mind in a way to say, I know exactly what would happen if X, Y, or Z did this. Thus, that's why I know you're contributing to this thing. And for me, that'd be tough for me to say. That'd be a tough argument for me to make. Say that I know that if you walk away, you're still or if you say fuck you to Hinkle or something, you're still contributing to this thing because you're going based on material, quote unquote, evidence. But then that puts you back in another philosophical kind of trick, or what's the word? Quagmire? Well, predicament. It puts you back in this philosophical predicament because who's to say what will happen in the future? Maybe I should hold on to this until he actually brings up where I want to say this at. If he doesn't say it, I'll say it on my own. But I think he's going to say something that kind of drives the point home. I'll wait till he says it. All right, here we go.
Say, if we take responsibility for those original crimes, and I agree, America must take responsibility. And I'm not speaking in the form of atoning for its sins or rectifying the problem, but strictly in the sense, yes, we have to acknowledge this is part of the founding of America. We should own up to it. And if we cannot see how there can be a reconciliation and a redemption of the American project even after this, you're in no position to judge it from the perspective of morality. If we don't, we can at the same time own up to this hideous, ugly history and also believe that there is a reconciliation of this history, of this original wound. That is, to put it in this kind of Hegelian way, the wound is reconciled. This very original evil has a deeper meaning than just, meaningless barbarism, and it must amount to something more than that. And communists are uniquely disposed to being able to allow it to amount to more than that. And I think the form this takes is the United States as a because America, as Caleb pointed out, is not a nation; it's a union state. It's a union state of various different states, and it's almost it's in a state that, by the example of Stalin on the national question, is almost completely devoid of any specific national particularity when it comes to the pure form of the state. Obviously, there are national realities, but when it comes to the United States, it is devoid of any particular specific national content. What is more communist than that? Communists need to inherit that and give new meaning to it, to this form. Uh, And morality cannot be treated as something where, well, I may have not been around at that time of settler colonialism, but now I am uniquely able to, they like to use this word, you're reproducing and you're reinforcing this settler colonialism by participating in it and by being a communist and admitting you're a patriot. This is a completely bankrupt mentality. It's a completely bankrupt moral or ethical position. You are already participating in it, whether you acknowledge and own up to it or not. Unless you want to leave this country and go live in a different country, um, it still forms the basis of your existence. You're doing it either way, right? You're not.
All right, so what he's talking about, what I think he's talking about, is something I call the. It's gonna sound stupid. Call it the TikTok. There was this movie called Ink or something like that. I think it's like a kids movie, but kind of darker. And there's this character he's kind of like embodiment of like synchronicity, where it's like he's like watching a car go by and then seeing the car is running over a bubblegum wrapper and the bubblegum wrapper flies away, hits someone in the face, and then they slap themselves. They look like you can see all the chain reactions happening, right? And he's like a clock guy, so it's like here's this, then this is gonna happen. This is gonna cause this to happen over here, and I think that's kind of where he's going with that. Basically, like on a material sense, right? So even though your mentality is not a part of the blah 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 America power structure thing or the country itself or the governance of it, but you're still in a way serving in it, right? Because you're materially attached to it. To me that's an incomplete argument because like you said, he's like, oh, you can leave the country, but then that's like you're still playing a role in the world, and the U.S. is a part of the world. Well, you can leave the planet. Well, you're still in the universe, which is which contains the Earth, which contains the United States. It's like it's too much. Like it seems like a magical thinking to go that route in regards to making moral judgments, right? With that type of that TikTok-y sense of connections to material happenings in the universe, right? And that's too tricky of a thing to try and put out there because we don't know what will happen in the future. This is kind of the point. I was waiting for him to say certain words before I said this point. If we're gonna follow his sense of morality, like how he's putting it, at least the way it seems, this I guess materialist moral thing. If you're gonna let's just skip over because it would go way deeper than what I'm about to say. But okay, let's look at an event happening, right? And then we have a person or even a collective judging an event as positive or negative. Or in his case, he's going to call it good and bad, right? It's based on, if good and bad are based on material, then he's going to call it either good or evil event. What happens after that event? As far as your reaction to it. If someone does something in reaction to this evil event, well, what happens after that? Is it possible the thing that these guys are deeming as good, standing against the evil event, could lead to another evil event? You see why I'm saying it's kind of magical thinking, and you kind of have to have the mind of God to even, right? If their problem is, hey man, people are starving, our solution will be to give them food. They give them food, but it's what's one of those diseases, like coli or something, salmonella or whatever. Give them food that you think is good, but it ends up killing them. Did you just do evil? Yeah, food poisoning, or they eat so much that they all have heart attacks and die. Like, damn, you didn't really save them, you kind of killed them. This is why I make this separation between good and evil, that's one category, and positive and negative, meaning the results of what you're perceiving as like a good, morally good action in the world. This is why I think that separation needs to be there, because you can have all the well-intentioned meaning in the fucking world, but the actual thing that happens, the event, it actually results in something negative happening. Now, if I see that happening, am I gonna deem you evil for it? Yes. No. No, I'm gonna say, I would say, your material assessment sucked. Or something else. Maybe your psychological assessment sucked. To where you think you're doing something that someone wants, but they don't actually want that. Now you're harming them, even though you're well-intentioned. So your psychological assessment was off, and you end up fucking this person over, considering what they wanted. If it was something, healthy or whatever. Right? They like getting whipped. Right on the ass cheeks. You running like, stop it, stop hurting them. Like, bro, you killed my buzz, bro. Not cool, man. Like, oh man, I fucked up. Hey man, I know you didn't mean to. Get it. In this worldview, I guess that'd be called evil. So that's why, at least it sounds like his notion of morality is already, yeah, I'd say that's pretty shaky, considering as much as he's saying like, oh, the abstraction of morality, and then like, what is there, some sort of floating mind or floating deity that's passing down this whatever the fuck? And it's like, well, your idea kind of requires that too, as in you have to know what's going to happen in the future. Well, based on material assessments, you can calculate that this is most likely to happen. It's not a guarantee. And also, forget about the immediate future. How about something further on into the future? How do you know you're not raising next little Hitler? Yeah, you maybe have baby Hitler on your hands, and you're feeding him, clothing him. You're doing no psychological analysis because everything's based on material. Or who knows if it's 30 generations down the line. That's why the TikTok notion of morality it's a tough one. That's a tough one. This is why I go with my own notion in regards to morality is, for me, it's about intention. What do you intend to do? You intend to mean well? Do you not intend to mean well? That's the moral barometer for me. And how efficient you are at understanding not only material existence but also the metaphysical existence of other people. Like, oh, they have their own minds, or you like to get a little more woo woo. You have souls or whatever. If you want to get more woo woo. But yeah, how good are you at understanding what that is? That will determine how efficient you are at expressing your meaning well, or even your not meaning well. Like, let's say you purposely want to do immoral things, like on purpose, which is silly to me, but like I said, there's going way more into depth with all this shit, but I'm trying to keep it somewhat surface level. Let's say there's someone who wants to do harm or means to do harm. Guess what? You have to try and assess, like, if they like this, that means I should do this, because then it'll be bad against them. Harm them. Right? You have to know the guy likes getting whipped in order to stop them from getting whipped. Right on the ass cheek. But yeah, that's why I work with morality that way. And I would say there's an actual skin in the game argument for that. It's not just contemplate my navel all fucking day. It's really not. It's actually practical, because it allows you to use certain things that I think are important in the realm of philosophy, and philosophy is important in the realm of thinking, and thinking is important in the realm of behaving. The I don't know. How important is it to say, hey, I know I don't know this? That's very fucking important. And that's why things like that could stop you from doing something that might cause some form of like mass harm, or even on a smaller scale harm, because you stop and think about it for a second. Because you're not a deity that understands all of material existence, right? You're not in that magical thinking set. Like, fuck. I mean, I'm trying to help, but I could be fucking it up. So let me ask and make sure I'm not fucking it up. Or let me try my best not to fuck it up. But there's no guarantee that things don't get fucked up. It leaves the mystery. That's why I think, for me, in my experience, that's what works for me. I think you should consider it infrared or Haas, whatever you like to get called. Pause. Now there was one thing that sounded quite spooky, and I believe it was Caleb and infrared. It was the notion of, yeah, let's adopt the word patriotism to culturally change its meaning in order to use it in like a strategical way. And kind of some of that sounded a lot like, you could call it propaganda. You can call it propaganda. Let's be real about this. That's what it leads to, at least. Right? Normally we think of propaganda, it's fucking, mass advertisements or whatever, psyops, false flags, on and so forth. But that is that too, where your actual aim is to change the minds of people, which is putting yourself on a pedestal and saying, I know the right answer. Now, just because you call yourself Marxist-Leninist or communist, or I'm anti-imperialist, just because you call yourself that doesn't mean things will play out the way Like it still is what it is, which means you'll have to kind of make a justification or an argument for propaganda itself, which is making a whole fucking statement about humans, about their behavior, about their something like free will, something about psychology like conditioning. All these questions spur out from there. Like I said, I've been keeping it kind of surface level, but trust me, the amount of questions that can happen from that are span across time and space. Just keep talking forever about it. Now, none of what I said, I'm going to end the video soon. None of what I said is some sort of like, no, you must sit down and think. Think for years, think forever, think. Don't ever act. No. Definitely make your material assessments of the world. Should be trying to do that to some degree. But also, I would always consider keeping the notion like, hey, I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, doesn't mean I'm fucking evil. Because most likely mistakes are gonna happen. Even with these guys, if we gave these guys power today, they're gonna fuck up somewhere. That's me guessing. Doesn't mean they're not trying to make things better. Well, that question's in. Yeah, it's real. No offense to these guys, but it's like that question's kind of in the air based on some of the character stuff I've seen before. These guys, not really Caleb Maupin, but the other two fun boys. All right, I guess I'm done. Don't forget to subscribe if you feel like. Only if you feel like. Don't forget to comment whether you agree or disagree. Let it be known. Tell the Allfather. Tell him. Nah, seriously. Maybe if someone comments and they've read Marx or whatever, I don't have any plans to. But if they have and they're like, I have an idea I want to throw out there, please go ahead or inform me about it or whatever. Just I don't know. I get a little thing when I hear the material, like the strictly material level thinking, which it's magical thinking. It doesn't actually make sense logically in the realm of something like morality, or even in the realm of like, in the realm of morality, like as far as like you wanting to accomplish something in a moral sense, and then you're trying to act on the world in regards to it, and you're just strictly looking at the material. Like, how about your own psyche, your own mind? Are you perceiving the material correct? Like, all these things precede the material notions. So it doesn't, for me, it just logically doesn't add up. Don't forget to share, support, hopefully donate to Devon's Journey to Recovery, to Helping Victims of Africom, to Cohen Daly, the Australian boy. Also help some content creators. Stevie, a.k.a. Redneck Economics, Sleepy J. Buy him a coffee with 2 scoops and 2 creams in it. And also Ali Alexandra, all links in the description box. And with all that said, give this video a thumbs down.
Say you wanna get in.